Check 1, 2, and 3. Looks like we are live. All right, looks like we're live, everybody. Hello, welcome. I'm going to say hi, everyone, on Royal We live chat. I'm so happy that you all are here, and I don't see there's Shelly Taylor. What's going on, Shelly? It's good to see you here. I haven't seen or heard from you in a long time. I hope you're doing well. And we'll wait a couple of minutes for others. Hey, Tanya, what's going on? Hi, Salon Savvy 64. So tonight, hi, Natural Beauty, 100%. So tonight I have something interesting that I want to talk about with you all. We're going to probably make it a short one tonight because I'm working on uploading videos, but I do want to be here to talk with you and answer some of your questions and talk about what's going on with Royal We and something that I got myself wrapped up into, but it's never too late to turn around. So I really need some help from you, the Royal We live chat community, because you've been with me for so long. All right. Hi, Shia girl. How are you? How many of you, say I, how many of you saw the recent upload that I just did tonight? Eric Winter says, I live in the UK and I'm finding it to get a suitable appointment with you. Finding it hard? Yeah, the time difference. But I do speak with people in the UK. I've spoken with quite a few, and because of my schedule, it typically results in a very late night session for you in the UK. It's I know I've talked to somebody over there. It was like 2 a.m, the UK time, which is really rough. I know, but the time zone difference is rough. But I'll work with you, Eric, however we can figure that out. Okay, message me, email me. We'll work something out. If I have to move an hour or whatever, we'll figure something out for you, and then you can schedule. All right. Okay, so for those of you who watched the video, how many watched the video? Haven't watched it. All right. So here's what's going on. Okay, I got myself lined up with St. Louis, with Mission St. Louis. All right. Mission St. Louis is a nonprofit organization that helps people who have experienced traumatic violence, domestic violence, homelessness, things of that sort. So they're an excellent cause. They're a nonprofit, which means they operate based on donations. And so, like any nonprofit, they hold events that raise a lot of donations. One of the events that I saw that was coming up, and I went ahead and jumped into, is brought in part by a company called Over the Edge. Over the Edge has teamed up with Mission St. Louis, and what Over the Edge does is they're a rappelling company. Rappelling meaning like a rope. They rappel with people for charitable causes. They rappel down the sides of tall buildings. Usually it's like hotels. They rappel people from the tops of hotels down the side of the building. So they teamed up with Mission St. Louis, and they're putting this together next month, the month of April, to rappel down the Four Seasons Hotel in St. Louis, and with raising money. And I signed up. Now, here's the problem. Now, I've already raised over $200. If I raise the full amount, I have no choice. I have to face my fear and rappel down the side of a hotel, right? And I struggle. Oh, Tanya. See, Tanya, you had to go there. You had to do that, Tanya. This is what I'm dealing with. See, I donated. Colleen says I donated. If $100 of US donate 10, Kevin will be up there. Let's help Kevin overcome his fear with God. Whom, what shall I fear? They'll make sure you are safe. Trust God, Kevin. You got this. See, I agree with you, Colleen. But then Tanya has all these question marks saying, is your life insurance paid up? Oh my gosh. And then on the video, somebody commented tonight saying, Kevin, you're a father now. You're not putting your fatherly responsibilities as a priority. Typically, I don't pay attention to comments, negative and stuff on my YouTube videos, but because of the fear that I already wrestle with, the fear of heights, the very things that made me want to do this challenge, I pay attention more to these things, to these comments. And yeah, Kimberly Toller gives a nice ha. So anyways, I don't know. What do you all think? Listen, you are the Royal We family. You're here with me all the time. Do you think it's worth it? Is this something that, listen, I am really afraid of heights. It is something, and here, I'm going to make a, buck up, Chuck. Thanks, 9W. I'm going to make a whole series on fear coming out of narcissistic abuse. I've been watching Mr. Balin videos. I'm not sure who Balin is. Yeah, thank you, Shelly. Thank you, Shelly, for that. I would hope so. Yeah, look at guys doing tightrope walking across the Grand Canyon. Yeah, acrophobia. I've developed acrophobia, Shia girl. But here's what I've discovered about fear. Coming out of narcissistic abuse, and I'm going to do more videos about this, fear develops in toxic relationships. And I've talked about this. There's fear of the bullying. There's fear of the unexpected volatileness and hostility of narcissistic people. The whole experience is a fearful experience. Your fear of yourself. You have a fear of whether or not you're handling it appropriately. You have a fear of becoming hostile back. So fear starts to set in because of narcissistic abuse. How many of you agree? How many of you agree that you've experienced fear, right? Fear develops. Now, here's what I've learned about fear. Fear is not biased. There's a reason why the ancient literature of the Bible talks about fear. It says God does not give you a spirit of fear, but of sound mind, right? But in these relationships, and this, by the way, is why you get out of toxic relationships. You don't leave because you're afraid. You leave because finally you get a sound mind, right? Your wits come back to you. You get your mind right and you go, whoa, this relationship is going nowhere. It's just dangerous and toxic, so I'm getting out. That's called having a sound mind. But we can be trapped with fear. And now, like I said, fear's not biased. You can't just say, I'm afraid of this, because fear doesn't work that way. I now understand what fear is. It really is, and it becomes an all-consuming aspect of your life with just a little bit of it. Okay? So, for example, I left a toxic situation because I was fearful of how I would respond in it. I was fearful of me losing myself. I was fearful of their aggression, all kinds of fears going on. I get away from that because of a sound mind, moved to St. Louis, didn't really work out the fears, and I noticed that fears started taking over in other areas of my life. When I would make videos, I developed a fear that I wasn't saying the right thing. I would have fears that I'm not getting a message across appropriately. Strangely, I started to develop more of a fear of heights than I've ever even noticed before. I used to fly in airplanes when I was younger, no problem. I couldn't imagine flying in a plane right now, which is weird. Sometimes I struggle going up and down elevators. I get in an elevator, and none of this was ever an issue prior to that whole experience with the toxic relationship and narcissistic abuse. The fear, which is not biased, comes in and it starts to invade all areas of your life. This is why fear is not to have any place, and I get that now. You can't just say, oh, I'm fearful of that. Fear doesn't work like that. Fear is fear, and it will come. This is why people oftentimes have a fear of success. I've feared that myself. Get on a roll, and I'm doing great, making great videos, and all of a sudden I'm fearful. and it trips me up. And I stop making videos for a while. I go a few days without making any because I'm afraid. What if I don't do as good as I did on the other videos? Fear. Fear. Right? So, fear. Fear, fear, fear. Anyhow, so fear is a very interesting dynamic. It's a very interesting comment, and we need to be able to do things to. Yeah, Julie says as we get older, we experience greater fear for the stuff that we didn't used to, and I wonder why. When you start to allow fear to set in, you stop taking certain risks. You stop growing, right? I'm not exactly sure how it works, but anyways, my thoughts, Royal We Family, was that heights seems to be one of these fears that I think is strange. And I do plan on traveling at some point. I would love to fly, and I mean, granted, the whole pandemic thing needs to go away, but I want to fly and travel and speak and this and that, hopefully one day, and help people through narcissistic abuse and recovery. So I've got to start facing these fears. And I thought that helping this good cause for Mission St. Louis, raising that money and dangling by a rope and rappelling 19 stories down a hotel would help me do that. So, what do y'all think? Yay, nay? Give me some thoughts. Give me some honest, deep down thoughts, encouragement or discouragement from any of you. I would appreciate it. What do you think? Trying to squash the fear of heights by taking on this challenge, raising money for a good cause, and rappelling 19 stories down a hotel safely. I mean, they say it's safe. I mean, you do sign a waiver. I don't know why I don't know what the waiver says. Probably says if our rope breaks and you fall to a horrible ending, we are not liable. That's probably what the waiver says. So, and I have had, like I said, I've like I said, I have had a couple of comments on the YouTube video that I just uploaded on the organic channel. One person just straight up said, Kevin, you're a father now. Basically, I think what the point of that message was, you're a father now, and if you do this, you're not putting your fatherly responsibilities as a priority. Chew on that. I think what they're saying is, listen, when you're a father and you're a grown-up, you can't afford to take risks like that. And so that it's a reasonable argument against what I'm thinking of doing to break a fear. What do you all say to that? Yeah, and by the way, Shelly says it would make a great video, and I'm taking you all with me. I am trying to figure out how I could do maybe a live as I'm going down, maybe that way I won't have to look down at the ground. I can look at you all, and you can join me live as I'm going down. Yeah. Yeah, so Colleen says, yeah, they did it where she lived as well, right? Newscasters do it. Yes, they do. I've seen that. News, media, they do it. So it is safe. I don't believe I've ever heard of any of it ever going wrong. But you know, it's just a scary thing to do. Colleen says, I say face your fear. No fear, brother. I like that. Ben says, at least they really, really want their business to continue. If they kill every one person, hurts business. So, Tanya, the fundraiser is going on right now. So if you go to the recent video, If you go to the recent video, you'll see my pledge page, and I'll put it on here too if I can. I don't know if I can put it on here. No, I can't add anything onto this yet. So anyways, it's going to be on all of the new uploads on the Organic Rowie channel. So if you go to the regular channel this week, the videos I'm going to be uploading, I'm going to have the link. It's going to say basically support Mission St. Louis, rappel down 19 stories with me. And basically I just need a 1,000 people to donate $1. And that's what it is. So I'm already at 2 something. So I haven't even really talked about it yet, and people have already started donating, which makes it real. So as the money's coming in, I have to do it. You know what I mean? Because now it's commitment time, right? People are paying. I need to break the fear. And so, Mike, that's what I thought. That's exactly, Mike Wilson hit the nail on the head. He said, do it. Show your son facing fears is possible. Yes, that's it. And I do want to show my son and my children that it's okay to be afraid of things in life and to do something about it. Obviously in a safe way, right? I'm in a safe way. I don't know how safe dangling from a rope is. I did tell my son that I was going to do it. And his first response was, don't do it, Dad. That's not safe. That was my son's initial reaction. He's 7. And I said, son, I'm thinking of rappelling down 19 stories on a rope. What do you think? He says, no, that's dangerous. I said, I know it is. I know. All right. A jet coaster? Yeah. Anyhow, yeah, I know. So, having the kids, they would be there. They'd be watching. Think I'm Spider-Man. So far, I see everybody saying that it's to go for it, to do it, and that's awesome. That is encouraging. That's encouraging. Have them put a blow-up bed. So, Shelly, to answer your question, it's next month, by the way. So I'm fundraising now. The actual event, the rappelling down the side of the hotel. It's the Four Seasons Hotel in downtown St. Louis. It is going to be it's in the month of it's in April, obviously. Next month. I believe it's April 14th or 17th, something like that. It's a Saturday. So yeah. That's where it's going to be, which, by the way, anybody in the St. Louis area, you're welcome to come on and hang out, come tell me hi, and send some prayers up the building, as I'm rappelling down. So I'll be putting that out there as well. It would be cool. Yeah, wow. It's a tough one because I am afraid of heights. So I wonder if it would have a total adverse effect and make me even more afraid of heights, even when I get down. I don't know. Just got to go for it. So anyhow, I wanted to share that with y'all and see what your thoughts were. It looks like I got a lot of encouragement from y'all, and I appreciate that. So let's talk real quick about some of the videos that you can expect to see from the Royal Week coming up this week. This video that I just posted tonight is, I'm sorry, I'm interested in what you all are saying. That's why I keep saying and checking the comments. So the video I posted tonight is about, it's about the pain and the hurt in life after narcissistic abuse that's a result of not being satisfied anymore with where you're at, and a lot of it is fear-based, right? The hurt that we continue to have is that we've let fear consume us, and we're no longer moving forward. We're no longer pushing ourselves. We're no longer dreaming. We're no longer pursuing our passions, and this is the real hurt. And as a result of that, we default to thinking about the narcissistic people as if they can somehow validate it and make us feel better, when really we just need to start taking those steps to regain our self confidence and to get ourselves back, right? Fear is a big issue, and it's something over the next few weeks I'm probably going to be sprinkling into the Royal We videos, especially as I'm coming up on something that's very fearful for me. Yeah. Oh, that video, Gary? Yeah. So that's where we're at. Other videos that you can expect to see. I'm reading some of your comments. So here's the other videos you can expect to see, and I'd love to hear your comments on it. So one of the videos I am going to talk about also is on the question of whether or not narcissistic, abusive people go to hell, because that is something that people have asked, and we've talked about this, I believe, last week, as a matter of fact, and we discussed how we can't answer that, right? But we did discuss also how evil has always existed. So I am going to bring this up, that according to ancient literature, according to the Bible, that evil is a part of the world. Narcissism is a part of the world. We coexist with it, but it's not up to us as to whether or not they go to hell. We don't know. Other videos you should watch out for: the church tells you to love more, right? And to love narcissistically abusive people more. This is actually damaging, and this had a big role in actually causing some hurt and damage in my life, because I was involved in some big churches in California when I was dealing with narcissistic abuse, and I was going to the church for help on how to get out of the situation. And what I was hearing was, you're just not loving them enough. That, on top of being manipulated and gaslit and bullied by them telling you that you're selfish and judgmental. In addition to that, having church people tell you you're not loving them enough is actually more damaging for you. And then it causes you to go back further beaten down and continue to try to love toxic people and abusive people, which enables them to abuse you even further. This is where I believe the church and Christianity failed people. Instead of doing the right thing, which is to tell you, have nothing to do with these abusive, hate-filled, name-calling people, these people who are gossipers and slanderers, because the ancient literature of the Bible does say that. 2 Timothy chapter 3 says, have nothing to do with such people. But for some reason, modern Christianity, at least when I was going through narcissistic abuse about 5, 6, 7 years ago, failed to recall these scriptures like 2 Timothy, and instead said, you're not loving them enough, which kind of makes you feel blamed for the abuse. So I'm going to talk about that in a video this week. You can expect that one. Being a light in the darkness, you can expect this one as well. Being a light in the darkness. This will be the last one I'll talk about. How many of you have heard about that as well? Be a light, continue to be a light in the darkness. Well, sometimes being a light or having a light is not so that you can stay in the darkness, but having a light is so that you can find your way out of the darkness. How about that one? So you can expect a video on that as well. With that, are there any questions? Any questions about any of the videos, or any topics you guys are just wanting to hear about? Right on. Yes, Kimberly Toller says, Kevin, you're doing it for a good cause, talking about rappelling down the hotel. You're willing to face the fear for someone else's fear. Absolutely. And that is what it's for. You know, I'm not getting a dime for rappelling down a building. All of it's going to Mission St. Louis, where they take care of abused victims. And in St. Louis, it's a big issue. In certain parts of St. Louis, you know, the violence and the crime is very high. And a lot of the abuse victims and domestic violence victims in St. Louis deal with uh, gun violence and gun trauma, stuff like that. So it it is for a good cause, and it all goes to them. And I would just be repelling, because that's the deal. That would be, not only that's kind of what's in it for you. Not only are you supporting the victims of abuse for Mission St. Louis, not only are you supporting Mission St. Louis, but um, you'd be watching me dangle from a rope 19 stories high. Ah, the thought of it. Let's see. Gary says, "Oh, Colleen actually has Colleen has a good a question here, and then Gary also has a question. How friends can turn out to be narcs? How to prevent? You can't. You can't prevent anybody from being who they are. If they're a narcissistic person, it's going to show up. And what you should really do work on is preventing yourself from reacting in a way that causes enmeshment. So learn the early signs, look at the red flags, disconnect, get out of there, take breaks from the relationship, set your boundaries in place, let it be known up front that there's things you just won't tolerate. Certain language, certain name calling, certain types of jokes, whatever the case may be, make sure your boundaries are set early on. If you can set your boundaries early on, you're golden, right? It's just when we tend to dismiss things and let things go and let things pass and don't say anything, that narcissistic people feel permission and they feel enabled. And then by the time you've had enough and you've said, listen, that's out of control, I've had enough, then they're like, what's wrong with you? You're acting very strange. How come all of a sudden you've changed and you're different? You're no longer the cool person I thought you were. And that's when the whole gaslighting starts, right? Not so easy for them to do that the first time they do something really weird and you're like, don't do that again around me, right? Let's see. Gary says, I don't understand how after 3 years I could miss this type of person. I have a 10-year-old son with her. Well, that's one reason. Been done for 3 years and I'm still not healed. What's wrong with me? Gary, there's nothing wrong with you. This type of healing takes an awfully long time. And another video I'm going to be, well, part of the video that I did tonight, uploaded tonight, which is why you're here, is understanding that to some extent, you're possibly still not living to your full potential with what it is that really satisfies you in life. And it's easy to default to the relationship to fill that gap in our life. It's easy to want to do that. But really, there's fears that we have to face. There's things that you need to do. This is what's going to drive your life forward and allow you to move on and get away from needing that validation and that other person. Again, we need to understand the purpose of relationships and marriage in our life is for that of helpmates. Because we need help in life doing the things we're called to do. But first, we have to start getting out and doing the things we're called to do, oftentimes, before we realize what healthy form of help we need in our lives. We have to stop thinking that marriage and relationships are for the purpose of finding a soulmate. I personally don't believe that there's such thing as a soulmate. I believe that each one of us, and I'm not some new age spiritualist, that's not where I get this from. I take this from the ancient literature of the Bible. The ancient literature of the Bible says this about humanity. It says, God said, let us create mankind in our likeness, in our image. What is the image of God? Completeness. That's it. So it's not new age spirituality, being one with our own spirit. No, nonsense. It's understanding that we are created complete. In the beginning, we're made complete. Before there was Adam and Eve, there was just one, a person, a living soul, just one. And none else was needed. It wasn't until the earth was flourished, according to the ancient literature, the earth was flourished and there was animals and there was vegetation, that God said, it's not right for this person to do this by themselves. Let's create a help mate. And so if we understand this, that we're not trying to find relationships in life to complete us because we need a soulmate. We're incomplete in that way. We need to look at relationships, not in a narcissistic way, but in a healthy understanding that we need helpmates, somebody who we can help in life, but who can also help us. We don't really know what this looks like until we first know what we're doing and where we're going in life, if this makes sense, or at least have an idea of what we're doing and where we're going. Yeah, Julie Tamalo says, true, Kevin, our soulmate is God. Bingo. That's it. That's the real soulmate. And if that's missing, if that soulmate is missing, and typically we find out that that is what's missing, we lose sight of that connection with God. And in the world we live in, it's becoming increasingly easier to lose a connection with faith, and increasingly easier to try to make up for that in all this worldly stuff, relationships and this and that. It's not easy. Right. Tanya says it's dedication between you and a partner. That's a part of it. Dedication, commitment. Absolutely. That's a big part of it. It's dedication, commitment. I mean, in any and all relationship and all marriages, here's the reality. Listen, the sex goes. People think that you get in a relationship, it's the sex and stuff, and this means we're soulmates forever, and it doesn't. Eventually, the sex dries up, and this. I mean, forgive me, I'm not trying to sound weird, but it just that's not everything, right? So it's all the other areas in life that are helpful. Sex is one part of it. That's a very helpful thing. I mean, it's helpful to have sex, right? It is. But in the beginning, that's all. If that's all it's about, then there's nothing else, right? There's nothing else that's helpful. So it's good to be able to find a helpmate suitable in all the areas, of not somebody who's mirroring you, not somebody who's jumping into your lifestyle and what you're doing, but somebody who you resonate with already, and you're able to help them. You see what their life is like and what they're trying to do and accomplish, and you're all for that. And you can help in any capacity, and they're willing to help you in any capacity too. That's the perfect, that would be the idealistic relationship. Very hard to come by. No doubt. Very difficult. Especially in the modern world that we live in, that has been doing nothing but, to be honest with you, creating competition, right? And how many of you sense that? There's been huge competitions, even between men and women. And what happens in too many narcissistic relationships is it turns from wanting to help each other to wanting to compete with each other. Oh, you're doing this and you're finding success over here. Well, I'm going to go do this and find success over here. And this gets really wild. This now gets into the heart of each individual, as opposed to wanting to be helpful and instead wanting to compete. And that's a huge problem with today's world. The level of competition has just skyrocketed. And it's very sad to see that relationships and men and women have become a nature of competition as opposed to a nature and a relationship of mutual help. Really wild. But in that, what happens in a world or in a society where the relationships go from being helpful to competitive? Rise Shines hit the nail on the head right there. The world becomes sexually influenced, right? So, yeah, the sexual influence comes, I believe, as a result of there's a lot of things. One, that's the purpose of relationships, is just to have sex. But two, that makes sure that's how people deal with the competition, right? So people have this misconception that, well, okay, I could just have sex with you and not have to worry about being in competition with you. Really wild. Let's see, Ben Kayok. Yeah, what's the situation, Ben? Did I miss a question? Take this as the last question tonight. Ben. Ben says, I'm struggling with guilt about my young kids being kept from their grandparents, even though they are narcs causing drama and as much pain to me as possible. Well, here's the thing, Ben. The role of grandparents is a role from them to the kids. It is the grandparents' responsibility to be grandparents. It is not your responsibility, Ben, to make them be grandparents. It's not your responsibility, Ben, to make sure that you get your children over to see their grandparents. A lot of narcissistic families in these hierarchy structures that we see, they operate like this. They will make you feel guilty because you don't take your children to go see them and honor them and bow down to their grandparent feet. And then as a result, they will make you feel ashamed. They will try to shame you and guilt you, saying, you're not letting us be grandparents. But at the same time, they will not make the initiative to get off their butts and drive to you and to follow your rules in your house as far as your boundaries go and be grandparents. They may not even pick up the phone and call and say, we would love to talk to our grandkids. They may not be reasonable and rational enough just to dedicate themselves to loving your children and instead of trying to make inappropriate comments about you. Listen, one of the things I've learned about these family dynamics, I'm telling you, Ben, because this is something near and dear to my heart. Because when I left with my wife from in-laws, I was blamed when we were all together. I was the one keeping, their family member away from them. And I was selfish and judgmental and all this horrible stuff. And they were getting hostile and wanted to fight with me. And I said, I've had it. I'm done. I'm out. It's too aggressive. It's too violent. It's too hostile. I left. And my wife followed me and we moved. And obviously we're here in the Midwest, 5 states away. And here's what I discovered. Not a single one of them call their own sibling. What does that tell you? Tell you what it tells me. That all that blaming me nonsense, oh, it's because of Kevin, we don't have a relationship with this person and blah, blah, blah. It was BS. It was nonsense. We've been here 4 years. They can't call? They just want an excuse. Narcissistic grandparents, narcissistic parents, they want an excuse to do things their way. That's it. So I'm telling you that to say this. If your children's grandparents, your parents, whoever you're dealing with, if they really care about being grandparents, they will. It's not your responsibility. You keep doing what you're doing. If you needed to keep your distance because they're inappropriate to you, keep your distance. And you can tell them. If they want to blame you, listen, you could be grandparents. Be grandparents. I don't care. I'm not going to get in your way. But don't badmouth me around my family. That's what I did. Now, I'm not going to stand in the way of you having a relationship with your sibling. You want a relationship with your sibling? Do it. And what I've discovered is they don't. Because narcissistic people have this attitude about them. How dare somebody tell us that we need to do something different? No. You're supposed to do what we want. So, Ben, I hope that answers your question. Let's see. Eric says, Kevin, is it possible to get back to a narc priest after bullies, lies, and be able to find friendship with them? Is it possible to get back to a narcissist priest after bullying? No, Eric, I wouldn't. Listen, when you experience the bullying, um, there's no reason to go back. Not at all. I don't think you should try. Don't try. Let them try, right? You discern. Let them try. Colleen, Kevin, do your in-laws call or try to keep in touch with your kids? Nope. Not at all. Not at all. What I've discovered about narcissistic people is when you've had enough and you've left, again, they feel so insulted by that, they just go away. Which tells me that they never really wanted that relationship. They didn't. And that's the really strangest part. That's the saddest part about the narcissistic personality disorder. That's what I find so, in hindsight, looking back, I knew it was off when they were doing all the blaming. You're keeping our sibling away from us, and when you're not coming around, and blah blah blah. And I felt so ashamed of myself, kind of like how Ben probably felt. But as I've moved and I realized, man, they don't ever call. They can't even pick up the phone and call. It was never my fault. They don't want a relationship. What they want to do is torment, and they want to hurt people, and they want people to, I guess, just serve them. That's what narcissistic people want. They want people to serve them. And it's so disgusting. It really is. I'm grateful that I moved my family 5 states away. I'm grateful that in a way it put them to the test. Okay, you really love your sibling? Let's see it. Now that the sibling's out of the state, now that we are out of fighting distance with them, they've shown that they don't really care. That's the heart of narcissism. It's the unfortunate heart of narcissism. Yeah, I was, let's see, Yaren says, Kevin, can you talk a bit about narcissistic family dynamics and cults? They so overlap. Yeah, well, narcissistic families are cults. They are. They're full-on cults, narcissistic family dynamics, their hierarchy, and you have the top of the hierarchy, the grandparents and parents. You have the golden child, and then you have scapegoats, like in all cults. They operate to protect one another, no matter what. They identify who the scapegoat will be based on any number of reasons. How many of you have followed up any of the stuff going on with the Prince Harry and Meghan, his wife? This is the UK stuff going on. For those of you, I'll summarize what's going on. Prince Harry and his wife Meghan have denounced their royal family. They're moving out. And it was mutual. The royal family also denounced them in return, cut them off financially, this and that. And they just had a special on the Oprah Winfrey Show. They're talking about it. And here's from Prince Harry and Meghan's, in particular Meghan. This is what she had to say about the living in the royal family. You want to talk about kind of cult style or narcissism and hierarchies. Obviously, the British Queen, I mean, this would definitely be a hierarchy, right? But here's what she had to say. She was naive about the job and how you perform. So in that family dynamic, you perform. You have to take the role you're assigned and you perform your role. And she says it became very hurtful because she didn't say this in the interview, but you can definitely gather that she was scapegoated. And Prince Harry noticed it too. And they were trying to figure out why. Why was she being treated worse than the others? Why was she getting inappropriate comments? She was getting inappropriate questions and comments kind of about her mixed race because Meghan is half, I'm guessing she's half African, half white or whatever. She's the only one in that royal house married in who is not a UK citizen. So that played a factor. Another thing is she's very pretty, so that could be a factor. There's all sorts of factors, but whatever the case may be, things were said and she couldn't question it. And when she tried to point out, this is what's really happening, nobody would listen, nobody would support her. This is how these hierarchies work. Kind of what I experienced in with the in-laws. They start to form who's who, and justice goes out the window. It doesn't matter. You're the person that's in the wrong, and we're not going to listen. We're not going to stand up for you. We're not going to defend you. I even heard that personally from one of the in-laws when I went and said, listen, I don't like to be cussed at and called names. And I tried to have a conversation. I said, listen, I'm sorry if I've caused any pain, but I can't be around being called names and cussed at. And they acted like I had no idea. They had no idea what I was talking about. And I'll never forget, as I walked out of the house, one of them came up to me and said, Kevin, I'm always going to defend my family. Basically telling me, you're not a part of this family. We want you here because you have to be here, but I'm going to defend my family. And I believe that Meghan and Prince Harry probably saw that same stuff. Meghan, we're going to defend our family. We're the royal family. Even against you, we're going to defend ourselves, right? This is that mindset. And if this is true, it makes perfect sense why they left and why even Prince Harry left. I'm done. I'm not doing this. I don't like this injustice. I don't like this hierarchy. And I didn't like it. I couldn't stand it, being around it with particular in-laws. I thought, listen, we're all here to get along and be equal. Oh, no, no, no. In a narcissistic family dynamic, there's no equality. There's roles. And those roles have certain responsibilities. And if your role is the scapegoat, then that's your role. And you have to be cussed at and called names and poked at and made fun of. Kind of weird. Until you set boundaries. Until you say, I've had enough, I'm out. And then they'll play their game back and say, okay, you are out and we're cutting you off. And then you have to be ready to say, okay, great, good. I did that. We're fine. We don't need them. That's it. We move. As far as I'm concerned, God called me to become a family with my family. He didn't call me to join another family. And I'm proud, and I think it's great to see Prince Harry say the same thing. I'm still calling him Prince, even though he probably doesn't want to be called that anymore, just Harry. But I think he's saying the same thing. I'm married now. I'm going to have kids. God has called me to become a family. I'm not going to be a part of that family anymore. I'm going to be a new family. And I think to some extent, the purpose of marriage, the purpose of going on, and this is something for all of us to understand, is so that we can become a new family, right? Our ancestors did that. That's why a lot of us are here. Our ancestors got married, found new partners, escaped from whatever crazy territory they were in, and became a brand new family, right? So yeah, that's where we're at. Poor Harry. All right. That interview was all lies. Who knows? We never know. I'm not sure. I don't think personally, because Prairie Bobcat says that the interview was all lies. I personally wouldn't see what the benefit of getting away from royalty would be if it were all lies. There's no benefit to it. If it was really just a beautiful experience for them, if it was equality and love, they would have no reason. Why would they give up the status that they would have as mutual beneficiaries in a royal family? There would be no motivation to leave. None. Even Meghan would be like, wow, I'm royal now. Like you see in the, it's great. And they treat me great. She would have no, but the very fact that they needed to leave, that tells me that there was some stuff going on. And then you have to question, well, what kind of stuff? Well, Now you're just getting into the finger pointing. You have these people saying, well, it's all your fault. You married into this and you don't like the way we treat you. Okay, well, then maybe we should look at how you're treating. And, well, we're royal. We don't have to look at the way we treat anybody because we're royal. Okay, well, we'll just leave then. Again, nobody knows exactly what was going down. We can't call it all lies because it's one side of the story. But one thing's for certain. I know that if everything was going great, I didn't leave my in-laws because everything was going great. I really wanted to be a part of a big family. I did. It was painful to know that there just wasn't a value there. Very painful. But I wouldn't have walked away if it was great, but it wasn't. It was I wouldn't have walked away if the majority of it was good. I wouldn't have walked away if it was half good. I wouldn't have walked away if sometimes it was good. I had to walk away because it became hostile and aggressive all the time. It was changing me as a person, trying to, in my situation, keep up with the hostility against me. It started to change me. That's when I knew it's time to go. When your peace is being robbed. So, when this happens in any family dynamic, it's time to go. Because some families just aren't interested in your peace. They're only interested in you doing your part in their family. But when you can't see what your role in their family even is, that's probably a sign you need to go. With that, I'm going to head out because it is late. And I'm going to go ahead and sign off. I want to thank you all for being here tonight on Royal We Live Chat. Be sure to go and, if you have not yet, go to the other Royal We channel. Watch the video uploaded tonight. There'll be videos all week long. And continue to keep me in your prayers as far as the rappelling for Mission St. Louis. And, we'll be back next Monday night for Royal We Live Chat. Saturday morning will be Royal We Fellowship, so be a part of Royal We Fellowship that Saturday morning. And have a great night, everybody. Be blessed. Bye.